What's up, everyone? Welcome to E3 2017. GameXplain crew here to actually cover the Microsoft conference, which, hey, we were all at that, and let's talk about Microsoft. I'm, of course, here with Andre Seegers, Ash Paulson, and Tom Arnold. We've got everybody here, so guys, just right off the bat, what'd you think of the conference, Andre?
I think for what they're going for was pretty good. They did a good job. It was very, of course, Xbox One X focused, and I'm actually amazed I got that title right, by the way. I was so tempted to say Scorpio. I think it was pretty decent. I will say, as one who doesn't currently own an Xbox, I'm not sure they completely sold me on the X. If I were to buy one, it would be the X, but, I think they provided a decent array of software here, but just not a ton that personally appeals to me. But there were some really good highlights there, so I think overall it was good, especially for the demographic they were hitting. But yeah, for me personally, not a ton that appealed to me.
Yeah, that's essentially how I feel. I think for the audience they're trying to court, it was a strong, solid conference. I think it's actually one of their better ones, in my opinion. And as someone who has an Xbox One S, it's they didn't convince me to go out and get an Xbox One X, but I like you said, Andre, if you don't have an Xbox One, that seems to be the way to go. Mm-hmm. Although that price point, $500, that's the highest they could have gone without signing their own death warrant, I think.
Yeah, that is the highest you can go before prehistoric crab battles. For me, it's a step in the right direction with Sea of Thieves and maybe even Anthem on it. Those ones looked really interesting to me and some of the indie games, but not quite there to push me over the edge to buy an Xbox One X.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's sort of how I go into every Microsoft conference every year at E3. It's like, will they convince me to actually buy an Xbox this year? And they put in some good showings as far as some of the games, and again, if I were to upgrade to an Xbox One or to get an Xbox One, it would be the X, and that $500 price point, like, I know it's going in, and I know nothing about specs, but I am impressed by the fact that they got it so damn small.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
The smallest Xbox yet. Although, granted, they are counting the original Xbox in that, and that's like bigger than the planet itself. So.
Yeah.
Right. But especially after the original Xbox One model being so giant, the fact that they're able to make what is apparently the most powerful console ever, the smallest Xbox ever, is pretty impressive.
Wait, hold on. How do you know it's the most powerful console ever?
No, according to them. Not to me.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they said that enough.
Well, I know enough. Well, all the pixels. Remember, it's got more pixels than any other console. So,
yeah, it's a good start, but I also kind of appreciated the fact that they didn't linger on the console itself too much.
It's true.
Like, here's what it can do, 4K, all that stuff, Ultra HD, or whatever the hell all those buzzwords are. And then, okay, here's the games to show it off and what we can do. And maybe it's just me, but I was kind of disappointed that they went, like, we're going to show off the graphics. Here's a car game. And to me, that is one of the easiest things to do. Not to deride any of the developers or anything like that, but it's like, car games, racing games are a very controlled environment for the most part, so it's really easy to make it look really good. So I'm like, all right, yeah, it looks fine.
But to be fair, they showed off a lot of other games too.
Yeah, because they went on to show off. Pretty much every game they showed off looked amazing.
And they all had like the 4K icon in the corner.
Yeah,
there was a lot of support for the 4K, and I noticed they made an emphasis to point out like true 4K or native 4K whenever they could. Right. Just to drive out, because I don't think the Pro is doing that. Like, they're using a lot of upscaling for most of their games.
Right, especially for 1080p set owners too. There's a lot of downsampling there happening. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I guess the Xbox One X is doing true native 4K, whereas the PS4 Pro might not. I'm not sure. So, I don't know for sure, but...
No, I guess that kind of raises another point. Tom and I were talking about this a little bit. Yeah. And I will say, I liked at the very start when they showed... Like, I thought they did a great job showing the resolution difference in terms of, like, the size. Like, you see the relative aspect ratios or the relative resolutions. That was cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. However, at the same time, at least being there in person, or even probably at home, it's hard to get the full effect of 4K. Because, for one, we're in an auditorium, like, somewhat 30, 40 feet from the screen. So we can't really notice, like, it doesn't really look higher def to us. And even at home, most people are going to be watching on a 1080p display, so you're not quite going to get the full effect of these 4K screens. And to be, that's no fault of Microsoft's. It's just like, it's hard to fully realize, to fully appreciate like what they're trying to tell us here, I suppose.
Come on now, Andre. It downsamples that 4K and makes it look better than ever anyway on a 1080p TV.
Well, and plus there's also the point that, we are well and truly into the age of diminishing returns when it comes to graphics. I mean,
man, that's going to raise some...
I guess, but obviously there's a difference here.
I agree with
4K is obviously, a big improvement over 1080p, but in terms of the overall tech on display, games just look good now. They just look amazing in general. And we're just at the point where, we're not looking at 32-bit compared to 64-bit. All platforms have games that look amazing now. There are differences, but they're smaller than usual.
Now, putting aside our personal feelings of whether we'll buy an Xbox One X or not, which sounds like none of us are, well, at this point, maybe, who knows. But what do you think about it in terms of the general market? For one, do you think they did a good job showing off the system? And two, do you think the price point is low enough to broaden the Xbox's demographic beyond, to the point where they need to catch up to Sony?
I could be wrong, but my general feeling on this is that I don't know if it'll appeal to anybody who wasn't already interested in Microsoft in general.
This seems to be an enthusiast system, and only an enthusiast system. I don't see a lot of I kind of want an Xbox type people going out and dropping $500 on a new system. I mean, I got an Xbox One S because I could get it, at a decent discount. I'm not going to go out and get an X, right? I'm happy with my S because, smartly, in my opinion, Microsoft did a great job positioning that family of Xbox One systems as being able to play every game, use every accessory, and I do like that. I really like that it's, as much as I don't like the name Xbox One X, I like that it's not the end of the Xbox One line already, that we're not already talking about the Scorpio, because that really drives the message home that, hey, no matter what version of Xbox One you have, you can play whatever game, use whatever accessory, and I think that's a key point.
That is a really good point. They kind of clarified the messaging a lot this time, that the name alone really tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
At the same time, I do wonder that almost kind of restricts how far they can broaden, because it kind of feels a little bit burdened just by everything that's come with the Xbox One up to this point.
Yeah.
So I wonder if starting not fresh per se, but presenting as more of a fresher option might have been better marketing wise.
That's so hard to say. I mean, you're right, it would be a fresh perspective, but then you might get into the Wii U trouble. It's I thought that was just an expansion on the Xbox, which kind of is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of the problem they're running into right now, I would say, versus positioning it outside the Xbox One family.
Yeah. Right, and, at the same time, I'm not so sure they did a great job, kind of opening up the Xbox to another audience in terms of, people who love Japanese games. You still want to get a PS4. There's very little at the Xbox conference today that would sway somebody who really loves Japanese games not to get a PS4.
Who was it that was commenting on how many shooters there were on display? Was it you, Derek?
I think it was me. I think Tom and I had the same reaction. Shooter,
shooter.
Exactly, it was going to be.
Brown.
Yeah, they were we have so many diverse games. Shooter. And I know State of Decay and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds are very different games when you get down to the nitty gritty, but you watch one and then you watch the other back to back, and it's okay, the only difference I can really see between these two is one has zombies.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I know there's a lot of difference, and they did improve that as they went along, but my God, when it first started, I'm seeing the same old Microsoft here.
Yeah.
They haven't changed.
I have to give a special shout out to Metro Exodus, because of all the games I felt it looked, kind of samey shooter, dark, that really stood out as being particularly amazing looking.
Out of all the shooters, that one did stand out the most. That is their third one in the series now, so that helps them. But I would say out of all of them, I'd be more likely to play that one.
We also got what felt like an extended look at that game, which I think helped keeping in mind. A lot of the other ones seemed more trailer-based or shorter in general, I guess.
Yeah.
So, looking back on now, it's hard to remember everything we saw. But to contrast, or at least one advantage, or one perk, as opposed to having all those shooters, is the things that weren't shooters really stood out.
Yeah, no, totally. That's another thing that happened to me and Tom, is they got through all those shooters, and the next thing they showed ended up being called the Darwin Project, and they had this different art style that we were like, oh, well, that looks different. That could be interesting. And I was and as soon as they got to the actual gameplay segment, they had the most obnoxious announcer there that is completely unintelligible. I had no idea what he was saying. And, I think a lot of people, a few of us thought that he was actually part of the game. We're like, oh, God, no.
Yeah, because he was trying to commentate. It was like a live commentary, but he was either just screaming so loud to the mic. I mean, literally, it was impossible to understand what he was saying.
I remember nothing of the gameplay there, because I heard that. I'm like, oh gosh, and it was just no.
What's surprising is that we couldn't understand that guy, but we could perfectly understand the British guy for Sea of Thieves with the witty British humor going on.
Speaking of Sea of Thieves, I guess I'll use this as a launching off point. I think that game looks really good. I've been intrigued by this game from day one, and I think the way they demoed it this year was better than last year. I know a lot of people actually really liked last year's presentation. It didn't work for me. This year, I thought they did a much better job. It still showed off the gameplay without making it seem too like over the top or too.
Right.
Yeah, I just like what they did here. It gave you a good idea what to expect.
For me, it really showed off that, hey, this is classic Rare. It feels like classic Rare. A lot of it did. I mean, it might help that they did have the British announcer, but they also avoided gamer speak because of it, and we'll get into that as we go along because there was a game that did use that, Anthem, and it just felt natural to have this British guy commentating over it, and it gave us this nice sense of cheeky humor. And again, another aspect that really felt like a classic Rare touch was being able to use cannons as a way to fast travel to islands or across other ships. Of like, okay, you're selling me on this. I'm always a little skittish when it comes to open multiplayer games because I'm never sure how I'm going to react to it. But I like this presentation. I'm like, yeah, I could actually see myself really enjoying Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. I've been a little lukewarm on it, like mostly, and I've gone on record saying that several times, and I'm still not sure I'm, like, tempted to go out and buy it now.
Like when you say ocean water worm?
But I have to say, though, that the ship-to-ship battles and that the fast travel, the fact that you can launch yourself out of a cannonball from your ship to the enemy ship and then start melee combat, that's awesome. And just in general, the ship-to-ship battles impress the hell out of me.
Not just that, or as part of that, the water looks gorgeous in
Yes.
this
Looks
game.
amazing.
I want a wave race now. With that.
Right?
Oh my god!
I feel like it's been so long since we've had like a true showcase for water. This game is that showcase again. It reminds me of E3 2001 with Wave Race there.
Bring on the water wars between developers.
Yes.
So I will say there's one game that would convince me to pick up an Xbox One X or any Xbox. It might be Sea of Thieves. Although I could just get on PC as well, I think.
Yeah, that's it. You can't pick it up for PC, but for me, it's less wait and see about how it's faring at this point.
Seafaring? Oh! You saw it as soon as you went there.
Yeah, but without the announcer, I kind of worry about just shooting at the skeletons. But then how fast the action picked up at the end between the two ships and waves that were taller than the ships themselves. I mean, that looks far more entertaining than the simple island battles. So yeah, it's definitely looking promising in my books.
Yeah. We got actually, this is going to surprise none of you, but there were two games that kind of stood out to me. We got a pair of what looked to be really cool-looking indie platformers in The Last Night and The Artful Escape. And The Last Night really kind of jumped out at me visually, because it's like this weird 2D, 3D hybrid, kind of like Hyper Light Drifter almost, but it's kind of got this like post-apocalyptic, kind of noirish feel to it, and it looked
the art style
really
looked
neat.
amazing.
No,
Yeah.
it really did, because it looked like sort of like any other game where it had these high quality visuals, and then they start showing the people and the population in this layered style to it, and it's just like, oh, this looks cool.
Yeah.
Basically pixel art for the people after seeing the intro, but I guess it's probably 3D voxels designed to make it pixels.
And then there's like this game, The Artful Escape, which I don't know exactly what it is, but like it was this cool looking, super brightly colored platformer, and then suddenly the goofy looking main character pulls out a guitar and starts shredding, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a rhythm platformer or what, but it's just a weird vibe, and I'm liking it. Like, it's definitely on my radar.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of this one song, this one indie platform that came out. I forget, it's like Wonder, and this guy just goes around with a little ukulele type thing, and he like just plays notes and solves puzzles and stuff. But this one, he's shredding the guitar. That one, it's more of a relaxing pace.
Okay.
Now, another thing we got was also Minecraft returning to the Xbox stage, which they do that, it seems like, every year. But this one was really interesting in the fact that it's going to be crossplay now.
Yeah.
You can Switch players can play with Microsoft players and PC players and tablet players, and
they even had a Switch made out of Minecraft blocks in the trailer.
Yeah.
In the trailer, which I actually missed because I was live tweeting, and people was like, "No, dude, the Switch was in the trailer," and I'm like, "Oh, I missed it."
It went by so fast.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wait, guys, was that a Switch in the trailer?"
Yeah,
Like,
So cool now, but of course the elephant in the room, no PlayStation, support yet. So the ball's in Sony's court now. Hopefully they'll actually want to come and
that's happened in the past where Sony's not always willing to work with, very rarely willing to work with Microsoft to have cross-platform play, which is a shame.
This seems like the kind of thing that it would just be a win-win for them to do this. I mean, so many Minecraft fans would be overjoyed if they did that. So ball's in their court. We'll see. But it is strange not to have them there.
Have they not gone crossplay on Rocket League yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think of that super duper graphics pack that they showed off? Like, the only thing that it looks nice.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really worried that kind of loses some of the charm of Minecraft.
So I actually like it because I'm not a huge fan of the Minecraft art style anyway. So
I see that point. Like I love pixelated graphics, obviously, but the pixel style for Minecraft doesn't really do it for me as much. So I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I feel that it keeps enough of the original Minecraft, sort of blocky people and worlds, but just adds lighting effects and sort of weather effects. I think it's okay to keep the original aesthetic.
Plus, they do call it Super Duper, just like the burger joint in San Francisco. So
right,
there you go.
That was delicious.
Yes, it was.
I gotta say though, one of the what?
Yeah,
go ahead.
One of the big highlights for me was that Dragon Ball Fighter Z game.
Oh, I actually
yes.
No, I didn't see that.
No, I was aware of it coming because that Japanese magazine came out and it had images from it, and it immediately looked gorgeous. But they're tiny, and you know, you don't always get the best looks. But seeing it in action, seeing that art style, like I love Arc System Works BlazBlue series, and I know that Guilty Gear on the PS4 looked amazing as well. And to see Dragon Ball Z in that style and just how crazy the fights were, it's like, yeah, I'm sold. I want this game. I need this game. Like, as a DBZ fan, this completely sold me on the game immediately. Like, there's no chance I'm not going to pick this up.
Yeah, even as a casual DBZ fan, and I mean, I like DBZ, but, you know, I'm not super hardcore. It looks like you're playing an episode of the anime. It looks awesome. Like, I just want to get it just because, you know, as a passing DBZ fan, this looks like the DBZ game I've always wanted.
I mean, you said it looks like the show, and I think especially because they have those intentional like frame drops in there.
Yeah,
it looks like it.
Yeah, frame drops. And I was going to say, hold on a second, it actually looks better than the show. Really.
Good point, actually.
Yeah, to that point. Yeah.
True.
What do you think I was going to talk about?
I thought you were talking about Super Lucky's Tale.
Oh, no, that's more Ash's thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Wait, were you the one super excited about that, though?
I think Ash is more excited about it.
I think I was just more surprised that we literally got a new 3D platformer announced at an Xbox conference.
Oh, maybe it was you then,
Yeah, I think there was something about it, but I actually have done some research since, and apparently this is it's like an enhanced remake of an Oculus VR game that got kind of reception.
Well, Tom and I actually played the VR game at the pre-PAX event. But this game looked, I mean, I didn't recognize, granted, we didn't play a ton of it.
Yeah. Sure.
But this looked pretty new to me. Like
it looks like definitely a deluxe version of it with like better characters and stuff. I mean, to be honest, the original was kind of a bit of a generic platformer, but it was in VR, so that was a novelty. This one, it looks like they're adding a lot more to it.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I did get a slightly generic vibe from it, but there was something to that game too where I'm like, well, it's kind of cool that we're seeing a kid-friendly, candy-colored 3D platformer with 2D platforming segments announced at an Xbox conference.
No, I agree. Yeah. I kind of love that. Like it kind of took me back to like an earlier time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had all the platformer wars where all these crazy characters were coming out. Like, oh, Bubsy has some competition now.
God.
What is funny though is during the announcement, I think I was talking to Derek. We were trying to figure out what it was, and I don't know if it was on the stream at home, but I think it was on the TVs on the sides of the main screen. You can see like the character, like the character's tail pop into view, and we were like, "Is this a Conquer game?"
Yeah, I know. I saw some people saying that on Twitter.
Conquer.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was like then he showed up, and I'm like, okay, I am so waiting for Conquer to just come out of nowhere and mutilate this guy and show, hey, actual new Conquer game.
Yeah.
Which would be really cool and, you know, a total Conquer thing to do. But, hey, I was still pretty happy with this, with Super Lucky's Tale. And, you know, I probably won't play it because I'm not going to have an Xbox. But good for Xbox fans to actually have a platformer. Mm-hmm. You know, that's kind of rare for them.
True. And speaking of games on Xbox that I absolutely am going to play, Cuphead finally has a release date.
Finally.
September 29th. We've been waiting, 4 years now for this game?
I mean, we made the joke that like the only time we hear about Cuphead is at E3 and then it just disappears.
I'm so glad it's finally coming.
It's not vaporware anymore.
Finally drink it in.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to try it out. It's, you know, it has it on PC. You'll be able to play it on your Xbox One S, so that's great. I mean, I think they have some new bosses in there too, because I don't think I recognized all of them. So
yeah, I mean, I would think with the, you know, extended or protracted development time this game has had, it seems like they've been, you know, even when we played it last year, it was a bunch of new content that we'd never seen before. So I feel like there's going to be quite a bit of stuff that they just haven't shown yet.
And the big question now is if it's going to live up to the hype. Because last time we played, you weren't a huge fan of the platforming levels. You
because of all the frame drops. Like the frame rate was just
that's why we need
stuttery. And
that's why we need the X.
Well, and also, to be fair, it probably wasn't optimized. I'm sure once they optimize the game, this is a platformer. These guys have to know that you can't have a platformer with a stuttering, like a stuttering frame rate. So, my hopes are high that they're gonna have it optimized and smooth by the time the game comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, devil's advocate there, with the devil being the enemy in that game. This is, I believe, sort of their first game or two brothers with a team, so there is a bit of inexperience there. Okay. And I did feel last year with it expanding in scope, it wasn't quite as good as the previous year playing it when it's more focused on the bosses. So hopefully they've obviously taken the time, so hopefully they can address any issues with it and release a product we all want. That's going to be a super good game.
Well, I definitely want to play it here at the show floor, because now that we're only 3 months out from release, I feel like that's going to be a pretty good indicator of what we're going to be playing in the final game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to it. That's the thing.
True. Yeah. So, Ash, I'm looking at the notes you compiled here, and I'm noticing a notable lack of a note about that digging dwarf game, whatever it was.
Because I actually had to run in the restroom. Really. And I completely missed it. That's why.
I completely forgot what the name of that game was.
I do too. So.
But I heard about it on Twitter. I'm like, what am I missing? Okay, it's some dwarf digging. Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea how that game's going to turn out, but I am intrigued. I will straight up admit. I thought it looked interesting. Partially because it might be like the first game with the unique art style that popped in.
That is true.
So.
It did have a unique art style. I wasn't completely sold because it was underground. I wasn't quite sure.
Well, I'm not completely sold either. We didn't see much of it. But I saw enough to, I'm like, all right, I'll check that out maybe when it comes out or see more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you go deeper and deeper like Diablo, getting more tougher enemies. It reminded me of like a 4-player Earth Defense Force, a game where you go around shooting these alien bugs and stuff, kind of like if Starship Troopers was a game, because the giant spiders came out at you, and then they turn around for the dwarves at the end. That's their little twist, so we remember it, I believe, instead of just, what's that game with the 4 guys and the spiders and different art style? Oh, it's a dwarf game.
Yeah, exactly. No mention of dwarfs at all until that last tagline.
I did kind of love. I mean, it sticks in your mind.
Yeah, it does. It's like, okay, I can get behind this dwarves.
I need to go watch this trailer now, because it's like the one thing I missed, and it sounds bizarre and weird. So
no, it kind of is.
Maybe they dug too deep.
Wow,
you're definitely digging too deep with some of those puns.
You're one
joking.
to say
no,
that.
I know.
Yeah,
no, I'm joking. I mean, I was digging there for that pun. So
that was just a token reference. Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Lord of the Rings, we got to see more of Shadow of War, and I don't think any of us actually played the original Shadow of Mordor.
No.
I bought it when it was really cheap, but I never actually got a chance to sit down and play it. But everybody talked about how good the Nemesis system in that game was, how it really made it stand out, almost like it was a better Assassin's Creed. And now they're expanding that with you able to make your own army of orcs by turning them to your side. And whatever else you have to say about that game, it's like it looks pretty good, but the orc personalities stand out so much, especially that one that you actually
his name.
I forget it too, but
the voice acting.
The voice acting was so good. It was so natural, and I was like, yeah, I just want to pal around with this guy the entire game. I am totally down with that.
Yeah. I found this to be a nice, pleasant surprise, which is Life is Strange is getting a prequel, and I gotta hand it to Don't Nod, the developer of Life is Strange. Talk about just a breakout hit out of the gate. Life is Strange has become huge, and it's cool. It was cool to see. I think it got leaked before the conference, but it was still nice to see that confirmed. When that Square Enix logo came up, I knew. Derek, you might have been, I don't know how excited you were.
No, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be anything from the Japanese side.
Yeah.
So,
but it is nice to see Life is Strange continue to get bigger. And I actually have not played the original, but everyone tells me I absolutely must.
And we can actually do that since it is free on PlayStation Plus right now. So it's a good timing as far as that concern. It's like, oh, there's another game coming out. I've heard good things.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Right.
And another game, again, there is some games here that it's kind of tempting. I haven't quite found that one that pushes me over the edge, but Sea of Thieves looks pretty good. There's a couple others here and there. Crackdown 3.
Yep.
You put Terry Crews in it, and he's yelling at me. I'm like, sure.
I'll
do whatever I will do whatever you say, Terry Crews.
Yeah, I mean, really will. Yeah.
It's just that was such a perfect way, and he's such a great fit for that game. And I remember friends just addicted to Crackdown, and because
it was like crack.
Exactly. Nobody cares about the story, just jumping around like a superhero.
Was there even a story in the first one?
Maybe.
I remember Kingpins, and that was about it.
Yeah, I actually never played. I played probably an hour of Crackdown 1, so I don't know that much about the series. But if Terry Crews yells at me and tells me to play Crackdown 3, I will.
I mean, if you play an hour, you know how that game is.
Yeah,
that is the game. But it was it was fun. I played Crackdown 1. I didn't bother with Crackdown 2. But it was fun. I just don't know if I need to do it again. But it was hard to tell how much they're actually adding to it based on the trailer I saw on Crackdown 3. So, hasn't that game been in the making for forever though? Now I feel like
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a protracted development for sure. Yeah,
are they still doing that server side like physics stuff online with the online multiplayer?
I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe they needed the Xbox One X to handle it.
Oh, that's true. They got the extra power now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, a game I have to bring up because it was probably, of course, we didn't actually see any actual gameplay content, but it looks like it gave me my game of the Xbox conference, and that, of course, is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. My God, I just got goosebumps watching the trailer, and I'm fairly sure that's how the game is going to look. I think those are environments probably that we are panning through.
Yeah.
And that absolutely expedited my my intent to go and play Ori and the Blind Forest, because I have it. It's just one of those games I haven't gotten around to yet, but I have to. That trailer really moved me and blew me away. The music and just the art style, it was just gorgeous. So
yeah.
I am so excited for that game.
No, I remember being really intrigued by the original Ori and the Blind Forest, and never played it. But I mean, I'm happy that it got a sequel. I'm glad it got so much great support, and blow us away even more, because there's something as you said, graphics have gotten to the point where they just always look good. So art styles is what attracts me now, and Ori has just a gorgeous art style.
It looks just unbelievable. I'm really excited to see more of that game.
Mm-hmm. And definitely one of the best art styles from the conference today, for sure.
Yeah. Now, I'm looking through all my notes, and there's one of the most important ones that none of us have brought up yet, and that is the fact that the Xbox One X has a liquid-cooled vapor chamber inside. How have we not talked about this? How is this not the first thing we talked about?
Well, that's how they got the small size, liquid cooled instead of air.
I know, right? I just thought it was funny they made such a big deal about that, and I'm sure if you're an engineer, that is a big deal. Yeah. But to the layperson, it's oh, okay.
Yeah, the specs part, like I said, just went completely over my head. Yeah. So whatever. I mean, they did decide. One of the cool things they did address.
Cool things.
Oh God.
Anyway, yeah, you did. No, I really appreciate the fact that they've worked to get original Xbox backwards compatibility available on the One as well.
That's a secret best announcement of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
was really excited about the fact that they have 360 backwards compatibility. They work to it so you can have just the entire Xbox library available on one system, which Sony, take a page.
Seriously, right?
Do this, because I have so many old Sony games I'd love to play on just one system.
I have to admit, seeing the original Xbox logo startup animation appear on the screen, that gave me some major nostalgic feels.
Yeah,
there.
exactly. I don't remember being too impressed by it back at the time, but hearing it again, it's
right? I mean, a lot of people won't believe this. I actually loved the original Xbox. I was huge in the original Xbox. I probably at the time preferred that to the GameCube. Actually,
that's surprising.
Yeah,
wow.
Online gaming, man.
Yeah,
and it's big. And as part of that, he was talking. Phil Spencer was saying we're bringing back something a lot of people have been asking for, and I was thinking in my head, well, of course. I mean, to me, I'm well, I want Crimson Skies. I want this forever. But there's no way that's what he's gonna say. He said freaking Crimson Skies.
Awesome.
And what's really funny is I've been thinking about this game for the last couple of weeks. I'm man, wow, this game was great. I want to go play it again online. It was a great game.
That's cool.
And it's back. Yeah, so that might be the tipping point. Actually, I might have to pick up an
Crimson
Xbox.
Skies. I love how that could be the tipping point.
Exactly. Now I heard, Halo was always the big thing about the original Xbox, but I heard so many people say the original Crimson Skies
is so good.
Really great.
That was my first Xbox Live game. I think it came with Xbox Live actually for a while. That game was fun. Just pure that is what Star Fox should be doing online. I don't know why they haven't tried that yet.
I wish they would. Yeah.
Yeah, Crimson Skies is amazing. So.
Well, it's actually kind of cool to me because on the contrary, the original Xbox was one of the only consoles I never owned or barely even played. To be honest, I just wasn't into it at the time. That was back during my, I was young enough to still be a fanboy, so I was no, I'm Team GameCube and PS2. I don't want that stupid, whatever. But now, this is a whole library of games I haven't tapped into, so I've never played Crimson Skies. So this is a perfect chance for me to, check out some original Xbox games. Yeah. Apparently will look and play better on Xbox One according to Microsoft.
Have you not played Just Set Radio Future?
Yeah, I have played that.
Oh, you have played
that? I have played that,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it too. For me, the original Xbox was a continuation of the Dreamcast for a while. The Dreamcast is short-lived.
Sega put a lot of continuations on there between Shenmue 2, Just Set Radio
Taxi.
Fuji, Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
A few others.
Even though it wasn't any good. But.
Yeah, that was the worst one.
Yeah, Panzer Dragoon Orta.
Yeah.
So good stuff. But they decided to close out the show with BioWare's Anthem. And I'm honestly not sure what to think about this one.
Wait, hold on. Okay, refresh my memory. Which one was that again?
The one at the very end where it's like this open world, foresty areas. You're in a mech suit.
Xenoblade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I actually liked how that looked.
I did too. Yeah.
I mean, I was intrigued. I don't know if that was the best way to end the conference.
Yeah.
But I actually liked what they showed of that. I thought.
Well, and and here's the straight truth, at least to me, is that yes, it's a different team at BioWare, but they are they're dealing with that uphill battle they're facing from the fallout of Andromeda, and I know it's a different team, but to the layperson, it's like, oh, BioWare, okay, well, last time they did a game, it didn't turn out all that great, so I feel like they have an uphill battle here, but it does look impressive. I'm just not sure if it's the kind of game that I would rush out to go. I didn't care about Destiny as awesome as that game is for people who really are into that stuff. It just wasn't my thing.
Well, they survived Sonic Chronicles.
That is a great. If you can survive Sonic Chronicles, you can survive anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, putting all that aside, like it just looks fun to fly around.
It does.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
I saw some people in my mentions talking about how to them it kind of looked like a cross between Xenoblade Chronicles X and I think Destiny they said or something like that. And they're right. Like I did get a little X vibe from flying through the forest like that because that's something you did.
Except flying actually looks fun here. Like in Xenoblade, it's not fun in and of itself. It can be fun to explore.
Yeah.
Granted, in my limited experience with the game, but like here, flying actually looked like a very dynamic thing you could do. Like,
it looks more like more visceral.
Yeah,
more,
exactly.
Yeah, true.
You're like winding through quarters and
I
underwater.
think the visuals were a little bit more interesting in X as far as like the crazy stuff you could see. Although the one part that did really impress me is when they went underwater.
Yeah, that was cool.
And it was actually this deep trench, and you could see the bullets flying in, and
it really entrenched in my mind.
I'm kicking you out of the room. I can do that now. No, I mean, I am so split because they got the multiplayer in there, and it's such an immediate turnoff for me when they're trying to emulate gamer speak and like talking about, hey, he needs the XP or something like that. And it was very mild in the grand scheme of things. Like, there's definitely been worse examples. But the thing that confused me at first is I thought this was in-game speak because that person was talking to you and the voice actress was talking back. And I swear it was the same voice. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But I was like, wait a second. Why are they talking about XP and this random person showing up? I'm like, oh, it's gamer speak. Oh, that's dumb.
Yeah.
It's not so bad because it's pre-recorded before, when they bring up 4 people and they're talking to each other. It's like,
that is the Ubisoft method.
And this is just a quick aside before we wrap up, but something I did notice and appreciate in the moment was during the Forza Motorsport 7 segment, they had a professional race car driver come out and do that segment, and it was a woman, and that's like a traditionally male-dominated sport, and I thought that was really cool.
Well, going off of that, and a detail that by all accounts is not necessary because you rarely see the inside of the car or your driver, but they had a female model driver.
I saw that too.
And that, like, a step that just does not need to be made, but they made it, so I appreciate that.
Actually, on that line of logic, maybe it's just me, but I noticed it seemed like there was more females in general, at least in the games, it seemed like.
Yeah, and not only that, but during their original, like the first sizzle reel for Xbox One X, like the actress playing it, she was a woman, and that's super cool. Like, I do like it's a lot more egalitarian this year, it feels.
And there's that zombie game where the main character is a man and he gets ripped apart by a big fat guy, and then the woman takes over after.
Yeah, exactly. They saved her butt, and I was sort of waiting for her to repay the favor, and no, this guy gets ripped in half.
Yeah.
And,
Hashtag feminism.
Oh man, so good.
It's okay, no one's listening this far anyway.
Right? Yeah.
Ouch. No, my thought was like they got this big fat zombie and they just rip him in half and move on. I'm like, wait, you're not going to eat him at all? Like, that seems like such a waste.
True. Yeah.
But going back to Anthem, just final thoughts. It has potential. The world itself seems interesting because, unlike a lot of open world games have like fields, like, and then you get into a forest area. This whole thing looked like a part of a forest, and it made it seem a lot more dense than most other open worlds, which is intriguing by that fact.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on, a lot of creatures for sure, and a huge draw distance of objectives to go to.
Yeah. And multiplayer, which is always appreciated for those who want to join up and experience it. It seems like there's going to be like a hub world, and then you get missions and then head out into the actual open world part.
Yeah. Now, do you guys feel like Microsoft delivered on their promise from last year's conference of having all the pixels. Most of the pixels, all of them. Did we see more pixels here than we're going to see tomorrow in PlayStation and on Tuesday in Nintendo?
Assuming what they told us was accurate, there were a lot of pixels on the
A lot of pixels, okay.
So
Yeah.
I gotta give them credit.
All right.
I think they over-delivered, Ash. Remember, 4K
Too many
screen,
pixels.
4K textures, 4K assets.
I never asked for all these pixels.
I don't know if you know this, but the human eye can't actually process that many pixels.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think those are the major points. I mean, Assassin's Creed, it was in there, but honestly, it's Assassin's Creed.
And yeah, well,
It has
It's
hippos.
interesting.
They're hippos.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you can ride camels, right?
Apparently,
Yeah.
yeah.
The wildlife did seem cool. I mean, it looked.
It looked good.
It
I
looked
thought.
fine,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's Assassin's Creed, so you kind of know what you're getting into there. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, I guess to touch on maybe one final point here, there weren't a ton of huge surprises. I would say, at least that appealed to me.
Yeah.
And as part of that, there was no Halo either, which again we kind of knew going in. They
Yeah,
had
they
said
did say
there'd be
that.
like
They
no
said.
Halo 6 there. I think is what they had said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said no Halo 6, yeah.
But really, there was no Halo at all, except in that little thing at the beginning where they showed Master Chief.
And no Gears of War.
No Gears of War,
I
no.
think Gears of War 4 players have been waiting for like a single-player story DLC expansion, and that apparently is not happening or isn't happening yet.
I have no idea, but both of them had like Gears of War 4 came out this past year, and I think
right.
Halo Wars 2 came out, so there probably just wasn't enough to show.
I think, I mean, also too, it might not be a bad idea to let those franchises rest.
Probably,
Like, I
yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking, Tom, earlier, how we almost completely forgot that Gears of War 4 had come out, or at least I had. I forgot that Gears of War 4 had come out just a few months ago, or like last year, rather.
Yeah.
And then I think just sitting on Halo 4 or Halo 6.
Six,
Has a lot, until they have a lot to announce. Like,
Yeah.
blow that game out when you can. Make it a big announcement. Maybe laying low on Halo for a while isn't the worst idea.
It feels like they both were kind of drops in the bucket. Like they had big splashes when they came out, but
Right.
the hype died considerably quickly for Halo and Gears of War. So I agree. I feel like maybe their brand value's gone down just a bit.
Well, they
and
did, no, their
lot,
brand is
just a lot
definitely
of
dropped.
bit. Yeah,
I
so
mean,
feel
Halo
like-
especially, I feel like.
maybe a bit,
Yeah.
but then they probably got the biggest Microsoft fans in there. But they did go nuts when they did show Master Chief.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for Gears of War, which I like the most of Xbox 360, we did have a trilogy during a single console generation, and it wasn't really a launch game to begin with, so that's packing a lot of games in a short time.
Yeah.
But I think that covers most of the big points about the Microsoft conference. There's some tiny things here and there, but for the most part, those are the big ones. At least what attracted my attention.
Yeah.
But Ash, what did you think overall? What would you grade this conference?
Why are you asking me first?
I should know better. You're the most indecisive.
Well, no, hold on.
No,
No, you started with me first. So.
All right, then Andre. I was going to switch to you anyway.
No, I'm saying we should. No, I don't want to go first. I already went
It's okay.
first.
I'll go.
All
It's
right,
all
Ash,
right.
on the
Go,
spot.
hold on,
do
real
it.
quick. Personal rating or like
Yeah.
objective rating? If you.
Yeah, are we talking about like, is this from a business standpoint?
Right.
Do we think they did a good
So
job
there's a
of
distinction here.
drawing their audience in, or are we talking about are we gonna go out and buy a
I both.
Oh man, all right.
Oh, man.
Oh, jeez. Okay,
Well,
well,
because you put me on the spot, I'm like,
Yeah.
just a rating. You don't have to go that depth into
All right,
it.
I'll
Just
go
give me a
first then.
reason.
If you're not, if you.
no, that's okay. I'll go. So, from an objective viewpoint, I actually think this is one of Microsoft's stronger conferences, and I actually think from in terms of appealing to their audience, it wasn't perfect, but I'm prepared to give this an A-. I think it was actually a really solid conference, and I think despite the high price tag, I think that the tech inside the Xbox One X is probably worthy of that price tag. And, I think they did a great job with the messaging in terms of it is the Xbox One family.
Yeah.
No matter where you jump in price point wise, you get all this stuff.
No personal rating.
Personal rating in terms of am I going to go buy an Xbox One X? That's like a D, but at the same time,
The whole
I have
conference?
I have
Wow.
an Xbox One S. That's the thing. It's like I feel like it's
Oh,
not
but
fair.
even game wise,
But yeah,
like
just
the whole,
game-wise.
like,
Oh,
how was their
in
conference
terms
overall?
oh god,
Yeah.
then I would say that's like a solid like B for B-.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, B- for like my own personal interest in the games, probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go next, so that way people forget about my feelings. When, when other people go. Objectively, I would say B. I think they did a pretty good job catering to people. I don't know if I could give it an A though without like Halo or Gears of War being there. Like it would be very difficult to reach an A without either of those there. I feel like.
Sure.
Personally, C. Like I think there are some things there that really did appeal to me. Overall, though, like I didn't come out like raving about it. So
Right.
I'd say it was strongly average for like on a personal rating.
Yeah, well, and I admit, like, I'm sure there are a few games that strongly account for my, B or whatever I gave it. Like, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That alone is going to account for a lot of my hype. So,
You don't have to justify it, yeah.
But, yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Personally, for me, if we were to use like a GameXplain rating score, it's somewhere between okay and like. And as a business perspective, I just liked a lot. they really drove home what the Scorpio, now known as Xbox One X, can do, which they made it clear to consumers. Although they were lacking that one key title like a Halo. And yeah, for me though, there's some games that I would want to play, but as you know, just not quite enough there. But as with so many pixels, I guess people are gonna have to get laser eye surgery to have better than 20/20 vision to see all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, objectively, I think this was a very solid conference. I think they did a great job of just immediately showing off the Xbox One X. We got the new title, we got the price, we got the release date, we got all this information, like, very quickly, really no fluff, and then they just went straight into the games. It was game after game after game, world premiere, exclusive, first look, that kind of stuff. It was very solid as far as just, here's a bunch of games to play. It's not, and because of that, I would give it a B+, just objectively. For myself personally, I would go B, B-, because not everything appealed to me. It was, I had this problem when I first left, is like they showed so much, like it kind of blended together. I only remembered patches of stuff. Like the big things that stuck out to me were DBZ, which is not going to be exclusive.
Right.
Sea of Thieves, which does look good, but not quite enough for me to get it. And, you know, a few of the smaller titles that do look interesting. So, for me, I give it a B- for my own personal taste. But it was still, I felt it was very solid, and they did a good job of just showing a lot in a little bit of amount of time. And I'm always impressed with that, because thankfully, as time has gone by, they've gotten less and less press speak. It's just, let's get games out there. And that's across all, you know, most people, like the big three. They're getting much better at that, where they're not hyping themselves up because they realize people don't care.
Yeah. Format-wise, Xbox's conferences really have improved over the years.
They absolutely have.
Like, a lot, yeah.
I would say I just wish, I think my favorite parts were the actual, like, gameplay demonstrations, like Assassin's Creed or the final game I can't remember.
Metro? No, Anthem.
Yeah,
Anthem, yeah. Like, I wish we had a little bit more of those.
Yeah, there was a little lack of actual gameplay demos, which, yeah. That would
I know some people I think some people don't like those. Like, that's what I like, because that's what the games are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then some people were always worried, like, in-game footage, right?
Yeah.
Because what happened with Ubisoft's one was the open world. I forget.
Far Cry?
No.
Just say No Man's Sky.
Like, no, where it looked really impressive. Like, I want to say Watch something.
Watch Dogs?
Watch Dogs, that's it.
Yeah.
And like it looked really impressive, and that was in game, and it ended up not being in game. So I don't know if Bioware would pull something like that, but you never know. But we'll see.
Put in a couple $1,000 worth of graphics cards into a PC as a demo, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we're saying is that none of our favorite moments of the Xbox conference was Porsche announcing their new supercar. That was not okay. I want to make sure. Yeah,
it's sort of a running gag at this point that Microsoft always shows off some new car.
Yeah, but I did like that they kept that BS to an absolute minimum. Like, they're going to have something like that in there. That's fine. They get a gimme, but they kept that to a minimum, and I appreciate it.
I mean, it's a nice looking car, but I'm looking at it, it's like, I will never afford that. I will never try that.
Yeah.
Why are you showing that to me? Oh, because you can play it a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Final point. Still no Banjo 3.
Yeah.
Like,
I've given up on that dream completely.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we probably have to wait until after Sea of Thieves if we're going to see that at all. I'm not sure how big the team at Rare is.
Oh, Rare used to be like 4 teams.
Yeah.
Over 400 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never finished Ukulele. You could always go back and just...
How dare you.
How dare you. All right. Well, I think that covers it for our thoughts on the Microsoft E3 2017 press conference. Not bad overall, but of course, stay tuned for more GameXplain coverage of E3 2017, including tomorrow, where we're all going to be at the Sony conference, and we'll talk about what they show off. So, looking forward to that, what they might have. So be sure to subscribe to us for that, as well as of course all the Nintendo coverage that we'll be having starting Tuesday. So
lots of it.
Lots of it.
Yes, lots of
Way
lots.
too much. Like, prepare your sub boxes. So yeah, we'll see you guys then, and catch you later. Bye.